All right, folks, up next, we have Randy Selman with Xcyte Digital Corporation. All right.
Thank you. So thank you for joining me today, both in person and via the webcast. I appreciate your time. So obviously we have some legal disclaimers we have to make before these speeches. And then we're going to get into, okay. So I'm going to start off with a little bit about me, okay? Because when you have a really new corporation, it's kind of good to know who the jockey is behind the company. That's the way I look at it. So one thing to know the horse, but you also need to know the jockey. So I started my career with Nortel in an engineering capacity and actually spent many years in both engineering and engineering management capacities. I was with IT&T, Modular Computers, Siemens, many other companies. And over the years, I realized I wasn't going to get rich being an engineer. I had to move on to something that made a lot more money. So I decided to make a career change, joined Western Union, and actually that was a good move. Within a year, I landed the largest transaction that the company had ever had in its 135-year history, and actually moved them from the singing telegram world and the, turning down every major technology improvement that ever came along, because they just didn't see it, and they thought telex machines would be here forever. Anyway, make a long story short, I put them in the credit card authorization business, and the next thing you know, they had a $60 million a year contract. During my time at Western Union, I created a software program that ran in the background on a newly introduced IBM PC. That eventually became a technology that I turned into a company called SK Technologies. And essentially, it allowed a PC to talk to a cash register to collect all the data from a store's sales that day and transmit it back to the headquarters so they could keep track of their inventory all over the country. And one of my biggest clients was Subway Sandwiches at the time. I then took that company public onto the NASDAQ. The company reached a market cap of $80 million within about a year of its IPO. And I was there for about another 6 or 7 years. We developed a lot of point-of-sale technology, but still using that base technology that I'd created back then. After about 7, 8 years, I decided I'd had enough. I'm kind of an entrepreneur, not an operator. So I started another company, and it was called Visual Data Corporation. Visual Data went public in '93, reached a market cap of $250 million. In the webcasting and providing video on the web, which is brand new, this is in the 90s, was a brand new technology. And in fact, the technology for this webcast I actually created, so Visual Webcast before. And we sold it to Issuer Direct, who's the sponsor of this show. Over the years, we made 14 acquisitions. And then, of course, in 2019, we decided to divest much of the business, and we were left as kind of a holding company that owned the patents from the original technologies we had invented back over the years. We then took the remaining assets, which was virtual event technology, and we created a new corporation called Xcyte Digital. So Xcyte was only formed in February of 22, and we moved certain of the assets in when it went public, which it did in November of 23. So it trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol XCYT. It's an event technology company. So what does that mean? So why would you create an event technology company at this stage of the game? We'd already gone through the pandemic. Most of these companies basically exploded and crashed, but that was the secret. There was a lot of companies at the time that were good companies, maybe good technology, great client base, but had no future. They had no capital. Market was hard to raise capital, and going public, believe me, at the end of 2023 was virtually impossible. And if I hadn't had prior successes, probably wouldn't have had the investor base to go and do a qualifying transaction to get onto the Toronto Exchange, which, by the way, we raised 4.5 million Canadian to do so. So these companies were out there, and I thought, wow, why don't we try to roll some of those up? Let's pick and choose the best companies. And instead of saying the whole company, let's just pick and choose the best assets we can buy out there and put them together. So I looked for the best webcasting platform that was out there. And boy, they'd made some great improvements from my old technology. over the years. In fact, I looked at this technology, which, by the way, we announced the acquisition of this morning. And I said, this is probably the best webcasting system I'd ever seen. It just had it all, and it was so easy to use. And the business proposal behind it was amazing. Okay, you sell a piece of software, they pay you an enormous amount of money up front, and they get to use it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and you get all that cash sitting in the bank from day one. And of course, you recognize it over the ensuing months, but great business plan. So all of the revenue in this company that we acquired this morning is basically subscription-based revenue, and it's all typically advanced pay. It's great business. But Xcyte's not just that. We're buying component technologies because, number one, I'm trying to build a base, solid base for the company. These are companies that are all accretive. They're producing substantial EBITDA, and they have a problem. What was the problem? Well, some of these were really constrained by prior debt. Some of these were constrained by legal situations that they were in. But we've been able to work out all of their problems, basically have them come on board and offering them a major upside. So why would they say no? So to date, we've been able to basically acquire now our third entity since the IPO, and I'll explain those in a few minutes. Each one of them is really special. But first, let's look at the event market in general, which is the market opportunity that we're looking at. So we are not just a virtual event company, but we are an event technology. So what does that mean? It means that event technology starts with a physical event like this one. And so the technology for these type of events we provide as well. And all the way up to immersive events, which can be with VR headsets or on your screens. There's a lot of ways but it's you visiting an online venue as an avatar where you can interact just like you're doing at this conference. You can talk to people, you can meet them as you walk around. You can listen to lectures, but what's helping you is artificial intelligence. It's telling you who to meet and telling you what lectures you should be going to and who would be best for you to meet so that either you can buy something or sell something to that person. And this AI is constantly figuring that out for you as the day goes on. And then they set up appointments for you, so you don't even have to do that. They'll send an email to both sides and say, join this person at this time. That time doesn't work, let me know when. And they'll do all of this in the background. And they'll translate into foreign languages for you. So it's really kind of, very futuristic capabilities that are available today. And a lot of people look at the avatars and they see these, almost like looks like a video game, and they say, well, this is really not for me. And I always like to quote a line out of Back to the Future. It may not be for you, but your kids are going to love it. So this is where we're heading, and I believe it's going to happen a lot faster than the kids today that are playing video games, getting into the market and into the business world. It's already happening because the value that you get from these kinds of technologies is amazing. So this market, so I'm looking at this back a year or two ago, and I'm saying all these companies are available, and the market is expected to double or triple or maybe even quadruple over the next 5-6 years. And according to these market companies, they're saying that the actual virtual event market is going to quadruple to $1 trillion market. And the regular event industry is going to double to $2 trillion. So that's giving me an indication that we are on the right track. We have to acquire the base, create the EBITDA, and then keep going where we're including more companies, and then we launch our organic growth strategy. So effectively, what Xcyte's main points are: very high recurring subscriptions with really high margins, and I'm going to explain the whole program in a minute, and basically not developing technology. Okay, I've developed technology all my life, and I can tell you two things about it. It never works, and there's always somebody doing it better with more money and more resources. So you don't want to try to beat them, you want to join them. And that's what this premise is about. Okay, so the business strategy is that there's all these great event technology platforms out there. Companies that have developed event technology for physical events, for virtual events, and for immersive events. And by partnering up with them and being able to resell their platform under a single subscription. So there are 9, 10, 12, 15 great producers of these technologically sound-based platforms out there in the world. And we've gone to them and said, look, we do a couple of things really great. You do a couple of things really great. We are great in the managed services side of the business. We're going to go in and we're going to help your clients design, build, and run events on your platform. You're going to give us great software, so we don't have to worry about the technological capability of it. And nor do our clients. So when a client is picking a platform and he goes to a single platform company, he's stuck with that platform if he signs a deal. When he comes to Xcyte, he's able to choose all these different platforms that he can choose to meet his requirement, his business case. Some days the business case requires a retail-oriented platform. Some days it's a educational platform. Some days it's mobile-based. They have all these choices in all the different partners that we have, and it's cheaper than buying it direct. And how do we do that is because our partnerships with these companies allows us to, our buy rate to be lower than the industry, lower than their even best rates, and we're able to leverage multiple platforms and able to give the best cost. So when we offer the subscription, we don't know exactly which platform they're going to use the most of, but we already know the average is lower than the cost that they're going to be paying. So we make up to almost 80% margins, which is pretty amazing. So so we'll go to kind of the understanding of this. So we do have technology. I don't want to get it wrong, and I really don't spend a lot. So our technology costs per month a couple of grand, and that's just simply we're doing sustaining engineering on our Encompass Pro platform. And what Encompass Pro does is it provides a base set of features. So in the event that the platform that best suits this client for his particular event falls short in a couple of areas, maybe it doesn't have a robust registration capability, or maybe it's missing out on some technology for metrics or whatever the function is, Encompass Pro fills in the gaps. So we have a robust learning engine, or we have a robust registration engine. So we plug those in, and now the platform almost does 99%, never 100, but 99% what that customer wants. And so we only have to maintain that platform. We don't have to keep building features on it. The other guys with the money and the resources, let them do that. So we provide the base event capability. We embellish the existing platforms. We provide all the managed services. And then, of course, since we've got this amazing capability of streaming video, we provide all the communications functionality. Our platform providers, whether it's an immersive event or a virtual event, provide the actual environment that you see. And then all of this together creates the event. And as I mentioned, if you look at the price comparison, you can see a direct license versus an Xcyte subscription. We're almost at half the price. So where in this particular scenario do you see a problem? Okay, you're getting it cheaper. You get a whole bunch of different potential platforms to use. So it's a very competitive organic growth strategy that we have. And you can see some of our clients. We've got a whole bunch more, but I'll say that 78% of the Fortune 1000 over the years, the assets that we've acquired into Xcyte have used our services. So today we have done over 150,000 events. And so although we started out with just buying a very small company back at the IPO with $1 million of potential revenue and opportunity, today we're good, and we're talking reference to 2023. Today we're over 5 million just 5 months, 6 months later. So we've 500% increase overall revenue, and EBITDA is positive. So the acquisitions, the 3 acquisitions, of course, OnStream had the event technology, which is Encompass Pro. Revenue for 2023 was 1.3 million, break even. Then we acquired A+ Conferencing at the beginning of April. A+ is basically it's a really unique situation, and we're going to look to do a lot more of these type of transactions, but it's a rev share. So they basically hand over the entire client base. We put it on our platform. The revenue that's produced now all turns to EBITDA. We get rid of the entire cost structure of the business, and that all comes down to the bottom line. And then the final one was Webinar.net, announced this morning, 3 million in revenues in 2023, basically produced 342K of EBITDA, but actually that number is quite a bit higher because we only bought certain assets and didn't assume certain liabilities. So it's more like 600,000 as the press release said. Okay, so OnStream, if you think about it, I already mentioned, brings an audio and web conferencing capability, the Encompass Pro platform. And my team, probably, I'm saying 50 years, it's probably closer to 100 years, because I probably have 30 of those in there already. But we've got a lot of experience in this space. We know what the space is looking for. We know how to create a business that's going to generate cash. That's my goal here. It's all about EBITDA. A+ Conferencing, it's a company that's doing audio conferencing primarily. We acquired it. We pay them 30% of their $1 million+ revenue annually. Starts in a year, so all the revenue for the first year is ours. And then after that, we'll share that net income with them. But that puts 70% of $1 million, $1.2 million right into our EBITDA. And then webinar, like I said, I think this is the best webcasting platform out there today. A lot of people think so. They have a stellar client base. It's growing all the time. And we think that the combination of the capabilities allows us to sell subcomponents at a profit. And of course, then the next level up being the services base, which is in the virtual events and immersive events. All of that creates a potential to upscale all the clients. Okay, so as a public company, where are the shares? So most of the stock is owned by insiders, almost 90%. And that includes our largest investors and some people that participated in the QT financing, which are also people that we know really, really well. The only shares that are trading, about 10%, which is acquired by the TSX, are from the seed rounds of the original CPC that we acquired, the Pool Corporation, Canadian Shell. And so those are the shares that are trading in the market. So fully diluted, it's about 110 million. Right now, it's about 85 with this acquisition. That'll boost it up into the 90s, but still, we own, and all of the shares, by the way, in the acquisitions, and there's no acquisitions that we're issuing stock for funding. We're doing all funding debt-based. So we're not putting this out to financial institutions. We're essentially doing everything under some form of debt, and then the companies get the shares because that's the reason they're going to do this with us is because of that upside in that stock. And that's all under escrow agreements, most of which are 18 months to 36 months. So we have good control over the shares that are owned by the management in the company. Speaking of the management, I've got a great team. Nelson is our CFO, joined the company this past year, quite a good background in public companies in Canada. Jamie comes with event technology experience. He ran his own company in London, England, and actually came up with the multi-platform subscription concept. And Michelle and Sabrina have been with me for over 15 years, and Alan, my partner, has been with me over 25 years, all people from the event industry. Our directors, pretty exciting. David Adler, who's a major player in the event industry, is one of our directors, basically sold his company to Informa, and now he's kind of an event guru and goes around helping companies, and he's a perfect director. Michelle and Paul are two Canadian directors that help us round out our independent board, and they have experience in both M&A and in Canadian public companies. So basically, right now, about $5.5 million revenue today, based on our 2023 numbers, which is a 500% increase since our listing. We project substantial higher revenue. We're in the process of more acquisitions and to launch our organic growth strategy in a really big way. I don't expect to do any equity transactions for the rest of 2024, but my goal is to put us on the NASDAQ in 2025 first quarter. Okay, open it up for questions. Good. Just a little louder, sorry. Mm-hmm. There is organic growth in there as well. But as I said, in 2024, I'm scooping up as many of these companies, thank you, as many of these companies as I possibly can. So the question was, where was there organic revenue mixed into my projections? And Yes, there is some. It's not a lot, but there is some. But what's happening is the companies I'm acquiring, besides what they're bringing to the table as represented in 23, all have substantial revenue opportunities, most of which already signed. So when I give you a projection, it's already in the bag. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the cash, primarily the QT financing, and of course the CPC had cash in it as well. So that's funded us this far. And I've had some of our private investors standing by to help us, but we haven't taken a lot of capital from any third parties. So we've been doing this all pretty much with what we have. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with all these acquisitions falling together, we get that risk factor of that.
Sure. Yeah. So the question was the retention and the integration issues from acquisitions. Okay. So the first acquisition, which was A+ Conferencing, was basically, as I mentioned, a revenue share. And so in that transaction, most of the costs and most of the integration was basically eliminated. And only the client base was essentially put on top of our existing platform. So at the end of the day, all we had to do was throw a switch and basically integrate it. So not a big deal. The second acquisition, or the one I announced this morning, Webinar, this one has a team of people, but it's really an independent company. It's going to remain independent for the next couple of years because it has to earn earnouts. And basically, at the end of the day, I'm synergizing only the administrative functions, the billing and the HR functions, whatever, so the company doesn't have to be burdened with that. And basically, we're going to move some of our webcasting requirements to them and the future acquisitions we're looking at. So there's not a lot of integration issues at all. And I think the overall outlook is that we won't have big expenses in trying to put any of these companies together. I mean, I've got a lot of M&A experience over the years. Like I think I mentioned, we've acquired 14 companies. And so, we know how to do this and well. And we're looking, remember, these are asset acquisitions, not business acquisitions. I can pick and choose what I think can fold in easily and be able to benefit the company and create more cash flow.
So all these different apps, all that, market, somebody has to think of the next generation of clients. Got it, and then portfolio and that.
Yeah.
But from that globalization, like pairing with them, building sales teams, how you do it?
Yeah. So the question was, are we able to build a sales team essentially from these acquisitions? And yes, the answer is. So what's happening here is really unique. Okay. So each of these acquisitions, I'm not doing what normally happens in an acquisition. I'm not killing the kings and bringing their assets over. I'm keeping them all. And what I'm basically putting together is a team of executives, C-level executives, that will be basically spending most of their time acquiring new clients. So I've got some of the best guys in the industry out there who know the event industry, meeting with the top people in all these different corporations, selling our products and services. So yes, at the end of the day, we're going to have an amazing sales team, including myself, selling these products and services to the market. We're going to leverage every kind of technology that's out there, as we've been doing, everything from Google AdWords to Facebook and every other possible digital marketing. And by the way, we're going to be acquiring digital marketing and lead generation businesses, not just to help our company, but more importantly, to help embellish the quality of the results of the events that we put on, helping them bring more attendance in, helping them bring in more leads for the event to make it more successful. So not just EBITDA, but also stuff to help the clients do better. Okay, I think we're out of time. Anybody has any more questions, I'll be outside in the hallway here. Thank you so much for joining.